Dear friends, I'd like to tell you a story. This is one of the many anecdotes that are given as part of the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the Buddha's last days, number 16 in the Digha Nikaya. As the end of this life on earth was approaching, the Buddha said to his assistant Ananda, "Come, let's go to the far shore of the Golden River and onto the sal forest of the Malas at Upavatana near Kusinara." And they went there. The Buddha said, "Ananda, set up a cot for me between the twin sal trees with my head to the north. I am tired and will lie down." Ananda did this. The Buddha laid down in the lion's posture on the right side, placing one foot on top of the other, mindful and aware. Sato Sampajano. Now, at that time, the twin sal trees were in full blossom with flowers out of season, and they sprinkled and strewed the flowers over the realized one's body in honor of the Tathagata, the realized one. And the flowers of the heavenly flame tree fell from the sky, and they too covered the Tathagata's body in honor of the Tathagata. And the heavenly sandalwood powder fell from the sky and sprinkled over the Tathagata's body in honor of the Tathagata. And heavenly music played in the sky in honor of the Tathagata, and heavenly choirs sang in the sky in honor of the Tathagata. And the Buddha pointed all this out to Ananda. And now comes the teaching part of this story. What a powerfully charged up spiritual atmosphere existed at that moment. Like the other dimension beyond this human dimension is palpable and so close. Great transformation is so palpable, so close. But the Buddha used the moment to give a Dhamma lesson. He said, that's not the full extent of how the realized one is honored, respected, revered, venerated, and esteemed. Any monk or nun, or male or female lay follower who practices in line with the teaching, practicing properly, living in line with the teaching, they honor, respect, revere, venerate, and esteem the realized one with the highest honor. So you should train like this. We shall practice in line with the teaching, practicing properly, living in line with the teaching. It's a phrase that is very often included in the recitation of the Vandana or the chanting practice, where we say Dhamma nu Dhamma patipatiya Buddhang pujami. Practicing the Dhamma in line with the Dhamma, I venerate the Buddha. Dhamma nu Dhamma patipatiya Dhammang pujami. Practicing the Dhamma in line with the Dhamma, I venerate the Dhamma. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya. Dhammang Sanghang Pujami. Practicing the Dhamma in line with the Dhamma. I venerate the Sangha. So I wanted to explore this a little bit further, what the real significance of this teaching is. If you had a chance to learn about the Buddha, or if you had a chance to read the suttas, to read the Dhamma and Vinaya, to understand the awesome depths and effectiveness of the way that the teachings are set out in the tradition that's been handed down to us. A chance to hear that teaching, or if you had a chance to hear the Dhamma teaching from a living teacher who was somebody that was highly realized, somebody who had accomplished something in the Dhamma, someone who you felt was enlightened, then you would have a sense, this sense of it's awe. There's a in the translation of the Vandana book that is used at the Bhavana Society, we were concerned about the translation for the word Bhagava, which is the word of respect which is used towards the Buddha. And in the older English translations, they called it Lord, but that kind of like seemed a little bit like Christian. It was like some kind of a connotation in terms of European religious thinking, and we didn't really want to have that exact connotation. And then sometimes they say the Blessed One, but again, that has a kind of it has a kind of a religious connotation, and Bhantaji was willing to consider a translation that was not that religious. And I had suggested the Sublime One. And I had looked up in philosophy, really, there's this idea, that which is the sublime. It has to do with aesthetics and beauty or art. If there's some aspect, especially in the natural world, the way the greatness of nature, the infinite expanse of the starry sky, or the precious moment of a sunset, or the awesomeness of a powerful range of high mountains covered in snow, or even the awesome quality of a storm is sometimes referred to as being sublime. That which is beyond the narrow, constrained, small self. And by being in touch with that greatness, there's a feeling of being able to transcend the self. transcend the narrow self. This is to me what when we refer to the vandana or the puja or the recitation, the bowing, the paying respects, the showing respects, is this acknowledgement that there's something greater that's beyond me, that's great, and I can bow down and acknowledge that greatness. There's an aspect of the devotion we have that has a very large measure of trust in it. That we have the sense that part of the perfection of the Bhagava, of the Buddha, is that he never, everything that he said and did was for the welfare and benefit of beings, never for the harm of any being. And these teachings, these guidelines, if they're properly understood and properly practiced, we have the confidence, or we can gain the confidence, that these teachings are for our welfare. They're for the healing, for coming out of dukkha, coming out of all of the toxic or negative patterns that we were in before that could relate to perpetuating a pattern of suffering, of being harmful. Anything that we've done in our entire past, which was harmful to ourselves or harmful to another, or any time we could have felt that we were the victim of some kind of circumstance that was hurtful or harmful to us, that we can have the sense that no matter how much we may be disappointed with this world, or we may be disappointed with people, we may be disappointed with society, but that this Dhamma is trustworthy. And so there's this measure of awesomeness, the sublime, the access to a way of going beyond ourselves, and the sense of trust and safety. That a person who's oriented towards devotion, oriented towards faith, may experience when they come into a sacred place, when they go to one of the sacred monuments, or when they come to the temple, when they come before an image of the Buddha, and when they pay respects and bow or recite the puja, the praise of the Buddha, or the praise of the triple gem of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. But what the Buddha has said in this little instructions he gave is, if you really want to worship and praise the Buddha, then you should practice the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma. And by that, as I understand it, that signifies practicing a meditation practice, and practicing the entire Eightfold Path. Um, of course, right meditation, proper meditation, cannot be separated from the entire Eightfold Path. It has to be based on and supported by all of those other factors in order to be effective. And if we have those think a lot of the people here who have been practicing for a long time, but if somebody is a newcomer who happened to find out about this program and sign up for the first time, and you don't know about the power of meditation or the power of the Dhamma, then I recommend to practice meditation, practice that make a commitment to the precepts, develop the boundless loving kindness and the Brahma Viharas for all beings all over the world, and then look within yourself and make the effort to attempt to let go of whatever is negative in your own mind, in your own psychology, and to simply let that time of meditation practice, which you would do regularly on a daily basis, let those minutes be a holiday from all the negativity, all of the stressfulness, all the churning of thoughts, all of the busyness and activity, all of the activities that we have to do in daily life where actually the mind is almost inevitably grasping onto things, holding onto things, choosing this, choosing that, choosing that we like this and we don't like that, choosing that I'm going to focus on some kind of like project or activity that I need to do, and I'm the mind is naturally falling into these patterns of grasping and reaching and grabbing after the things that are part of our pattern of life. But when we sit for meditation, we can just stop all that and spend your 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 50 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever many amount of time that you have that's available for your meditation practice. And with that amount of time, see what it's like when the mind is not grasping after anything, not reaching after anything, much more brilliantly aware of what's going on inside because of not being preoccupied with all of the things outside. And eventually seeing very clearly whatever is counterproductive or negative patterns of the mind, and finding out that it's possible to let it go, to put it down, to be free from every kind of negativity, at least temporarily, for the period of the meditation. And then when we come out of meditation, experiencing the transformation of our life, the different aspects of true happiness that can come about as a result of that meditation practice. And it can come about that having a taste of that kind of true happiness, which is away from just that state with that purified mind. That then naturally the desire comes up to live one's life in a way that protects the practice. So you don't want to fall into a quarrel. You don't want to fall into being distracted and preoccupied. You don't want to fall into being emotionally carried away. Instead, you want to just keep a hold of that clarity, that mindfulness, that clear comprehension as you go through all of the activities of life, so that then when coming back to the cushion at the end of the day, or when coming up in the morning and coming to the cushion for practice, the mind is already not very far away from that wonderful clear state of not grasping, of not clinging to anything at all. And then, as this is how that transformation begins and how it develops. And when we have a taste of that, that's when the saddha, the confidence, begins to grow. There are many different corners of the teaching that can be heard, listened to, or read when we read the suttas. And it can be that there are some teachings that are become very meaningful to us because of being able to reflect on them, practice with them, really integrate into our own experience, and to make those teachings our own because of understanding them well enough to integrate with our own experience, so that we know deeply within ourselves. So that we know directly from our own experience about the truth of those of that particular Dhamma, some corner of the Dhamma, one of the lists in the Dhamma, or one of the teachings in the Dhamma. And it may be that there are other aspects of the Dhamma, things that one reads about, which are still maybe not yet what one can realize directly, not yet what one can fully understand. Something that we can memorize the list, but we're not yet able to integrate it. And in that case, I think perhaps each person has their own way to gradually obtain more and more of the depth of the different aspects of the teaching. Listening to teachers who have integrated and personally realized, who are able to speak about the Dhamma in a way that's authentic, sincere, personal, and based on their own realization, their own teaching, is a very powerful way to be able to catch a hold of the meaning, so that one can begin to do their own integration. Some of us, I know there's some of us in this space here who really enjoy reading the suttas. Some people enjoy reading several different translations in order to get more understanding of the meaning. Some of us enjoy looking at the Pali and taking the important phrases and words in the Pali and understanding like some particular phrase, like say this Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatya. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatya. That's a phrase, practicing the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma. So one can look up where that particular phrase appears in a lot of different places in the suttas, and by dancing around it in that way, you can start to get a more of a clear picture about what is being spoken of, what is it really about, or if one is interested in the etymology of the Pali and knowing the root meanings of the words that are used very often in Pali, as in any language. The root meanings come down to something physical that's got like an image. So that the word is like a little metaphor. There's like a little story within each word. So like that Dha in Dhamma has to do with holding, with what one is able to hold in the mind, what can be experienced and what can be recalled. There's a little story that I have about the word Da. This is the Pali root Da. Our community here is called the Dhamma Dharini. That's Dhamma Dharini. The Dharini is upholding the Dhamma. So the Dhamma is able to be upheld, and the Dharini is upholding the Dhamma. And one of the alternative meanings for Dharini is to put something on, like you put on a garment. If you put on a jacket, and if you wear the jacket, you're carrying the jacket. And that's called Dharini. And to me, like, this gives me like this beautiful little, like a story, like a metaphor. Whenever I think of the Dhamma, I think, can I take this Dhamma and can I put it on, like putting on a robe or putting on a garment, and then I'm going to wear it. I'm going to take it with me throughout the day and see how it, fits on this body. See how it fits with me as I go through all the activities of the day. And so that's, there are, of course, many thousands of Pali roots that can be looked at by people who enjoy that particular way of enabling our heart and mind to kind of like sink into the Dhamma and really become like rooted in the Dhamma in order to take up the goodness and the nourishment that's available in the Dhamma. But so Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatya, if you are devoted to the Buddha, if you've got that faithful character, then please remember that it's not enough to just bow and chant, but you also should practice, because your teacher, the Buddha, told you the highest form of veneration is for you to practice. And if you are not of that like faithful and devoted character, but if you're in more of a practice character, that you love meditation, or you love to understand the teachings, or you love to look within yourself to try to understand your own mind, how things are working within. If you are really motivated to come to the end of suffering and are following this path, then allow the love and devotion to come in and help you. Let devotion help you stay motivated for your practice. Let devotion give you a measure of trust in the practice, so that everybody has like a sort of like a practice edge. Like I can go so far, but beyond that, it's like Mara doesn't want you to go all the way, and so Mara is saying, "Stop! Don't go that way. It's not safe," or something about like this. We're so used to our self-centered nature, and when we think about non-self or when we think about letting go, it's like say, "Oh, I'm not willing to let go of everything. I've got to hold on to a little something." So there's some kind of like a fear there that is making us wanting to keep on clinging on, grasping, but devotion can make it possible for us to feel safe enough that we can practice fully, and that we can go beyond those reactions or whatever it is that's holding us back from going all the way with this practice. I'm reminded that tonight is the full moon night. It's the Undavapoya day. This is also called Sangamita Day. If you are signed up and receiving the weekly mailings that I send out about our online programs, or if you are getting the different email announcements that come out from Dhamma, or if you ever visit Dhammadarini's Facebook page, you might know that there's a very great Dhamma program with many wonderful panels and wonderful speakers who are going to be speaking about the Arahant Bhikkhuni Sangamita and her contribution. That program is happening in India starting at 3:30 in the morning, California time. So you can discover the link and either listen to it live tonight, or else you can watch it later on YouTube. It'll be a Zoom program. I'll say you look up the United Theravada Bhikkhuni. So if you look up that program in YouTube, or you could look it up in Facebook, and you could find the information about their programs. We are going to be having a day-long program on Sunday, which is a combination of our celebration of Sangamita Day, and also since it's New Year's Eve, so we're going to be having a day of meditation. We're starting at 9 o'clock in the morning with precepts and the meditation, and then we'll come back again at 1 o'clock for some reading. This is Sunday, so those who join us regularly, you're used to seeing us at 9 o'clock and 1 o'clock on Sunday. Then there will be a third Sunday program at 7 o'clock in the evening. And then we here are going to be practicing sitting and walking meditation, following that program up until midnight. I'm not quite sure how this is going to work, but we're going to broadcast something on Zoom, I guess, a picture of the Buddha for 3 hours during that sitting and walking meditation program. And then at 1:45 midnight, we are going to do some ring a bell and chant in honor of Sanghamita and in honor of our dedication to have a clear, peaceful, and successful New Year's. So that's something that's coming up. I welcome any comments or questions about what it would mean to practice the Dhamma in accord with the Dhamma. And I see Damon.
Hi. Yes, thank you. Now, in your description regarding devotion, did you make reference to something that would be called a devotional practice? Are there, basic devotional practices that beginners like myself might contemplate engaging in? I can't think of anything else besides prostrations.
If you have an altar in your home, even if it's just a corner of one room, which is the place that you sit for meditation, and if you have a Buddha image, or it doesn't have to be a Buddha image. In the ancient times, they didn't use statues of the person. In the ancient times, they had the image of the Bodhi tree with an empty space underneath the Bodhi tree, representing the Buddha, or they had the Buddha's footprint, representing the Buddha. So, but having an image that is signifying the Buddha, having a candle or a light, putting some flowers, those things are all devotional practices. The traditional Buddhists also often will memorize the chanting, and they may find nice recorded versions of the recitations that are meaningful to them, and they may listen to the chanting at home. It's especially great if you know the meaning of the chanting, or if you find some chanting that's in a language that you're able to understand. So that's helpful. Offering something to the Sangha is a devotional practice, even if it's a spoonful of rice. That kind of offering is also a devotional practice, and indeed the bowing is a devotional practice.
Thank you.
I'll call on Richard.
Thank you, Ayya. There's a sutta, and I'm just paraphrasing it, where someone asked the Buddha, why are all your students like bowing down to you and showing respect and everything? And Buddha said, it's because of service that I rendered in the past, meaning that he brought them up to being a noble disciple. And once one's brought up to being a noble disciple, which is, Sotopan up to Arahant, uh, for the Arahant, he has now uh, achieved ultimately, once this body passes away, the end of dukkha. But for the others, they can now see the end of dukkha. So he brought them to that point, and they're so happy and overjoyed and everything, and therefore they're so loving and respectful and everything to the Buddha. The other thing is that Dhamma anu Dhamma Patipana. I have a different way of looking at it now. To me, some things in Buddhism are kind of like it's like a gem with many facets, and you can look at it from different directions. It doesn't mean one is totally right or wrong or whatever, right? Or like the idea of the honey ball, you could bite it from any direction, right? And it's going to be tasty. So for me, the word Dhamma means objective reality, and so what Buddha is saying here is Dhamma Anudhamma, right? He's saying that seeing the true nature of objective reality, uh, all that which is subject to arising is subject to cessation. So by keeping that, that's the initial special teaching of the Buddha, right? By keeping that in mind, no matter what's going on in objective reality, you just see it like that, so it doesn't affect you. So let's say that you're living the life of a monastic, and maybe you get some good food one day. Okay, wash your bowl. And the next day you don't get any food. Okay, I guess I don't need to wash my bowl today. And another day maybe you just get a little food, right? Or it's not that tasty, whatever. Okay, just wash your bowl. In other words, that's just the nature of it's constantly changing, and there's no set way that everything's going to happen all the time. So by having that thought in mind, that Dhamma Anudhamma, right? It's kind of like the saying, go along to get along, right? So while you still have a body, you're just existing in this world, you don't uh, you don't let anything affect your moving forward in your practice and your understanding. Another thing about the word Bhagava, uh, this word actually in the ancient Vedic tradition means to be full of a person who is full of like these six opulences, uh, and like wealth and beauty and leadership and things like that. And so uh, there are Buddhas, and Buddhas come in two types. Sambuddha, that's Shakyamuni Buddha, or Pratyeka Buddhas, right? So Pratyeka Buddhas become enlightened for themselves, but they don't have all those opulences which allow you to go out and be taken seriously, you might say, by other human beings, okay? So they kind of end up just being enlightened by themselves, and they don't have any followers, so no one's going to call them a Bhagava, okay? But Buddha, like Shakyamuni Buddha, he had all those opulences, and leadership quality. Automatically, people were gravitated to him to be the leader and things like that. And so it's because he was so full in those opulences that gives him the ability to go out and teach others and teach them the Dharma. And so that's why he's referred to as the Bhagava, right? Because he's full of all these things that make him attractive enough and everything else and capable, etc., to be the leader of the people. But again, that's just another way of looking at it. So anyway, thank you very much.
I love, Richard, that what the example that you gave about the insight into the nature of reality. Everything arises that passes away. and how like significant just to hold that like constantly in mind going through life as being that is a Dhamma nu Dhamma patipatya. That is a practice to keep that insight alive and awake and present. So that's a really a lovely example. And what I like about that example is that it's something which is meaningful to you in your practice, that you have integrated that in your way of approaching the Dhamma. And this is part of what I like to emphasize, that that the Dhamma needs to be realized internally. A Dhamma that exists somewhere else is, I don't know, that's not really even a meaningful concept. I think there's a comment coming up at the Wat Buddhanussaren. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, please.
yes. Good evening, Ayya. What kind of technique do you use when you meditate? Inhaling, exhaling through your nose, be aware of breath, or be aware of abdominal when it's arising and falling away. And which one will the hindrances arise less? Which technique? Which technique hindrances will arise less than the other, or it doesn't matter, or any?
You know, this may, for the individual, it may depend on what training they've received. Like somehow the first training you received is very strong. And I was trained to watch the breath around the nostril.
Mhm.
And I just always followed that because that's where I started. It's what's the most natural, the most easy. Like being, when watching the sensation of breath is really more like a kind of like a body meditation. But then the breath becomes more abstracted as just in breath, just out breath, that you don't so much, you're not like involved in sensations that much, but more like it's, you just no breath, no breathing in, no breathing out. So I really appreciate the Anapanasati Sutta, and I'm aware that of the, you know, the four groups of four, the different stages with the Anapanasati, that the first stage is just settling with at the body level, being aware of the breath at the material body level, then being aware of the, like breathing in, aware of the Vedana, and
Feeling.
breathing, and then breathing in, aware of the Chitta, of the mind, breathing, and then being aware of the Anicca, Viraga, and so that I don't want to just stop and just be just staying at the sensations in the body, because then that's you don't really have the opportunity to get the fullness of the practice that way. And I know that like as we are tonight, it's a very short meditation, and many of the students have been busy at work and so forth, so that they don't have time to enough time in this meditation to go very deeply. But being aware of the sensations in the body can be it's like too busy, and the mind wants to become more peaceful than that. And so then when the mind wants to become more peaceful, it may let go of the sensations in the body and just be aware of the Vedana. And we got to know that it's okay to allow that to happen. We shouldn't, it will be a mistake if one is thinking that, I have to just stay on the sensations in the body. But
One more
I
question.
don't think, like, they say that, I don't know whether this is true or not. They say that awareness at the belly or at the diaphragm or any place else is a practice that is very good for access concentration and being aware of the awareness, the work that can be done at the level of access concentration. And they say that because the nostril is more like a smaller area, that is easier to go to full samadhi, or to go to the first jhana. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. But I usually, for the students, I tell them wherever it's easy for them to notice the breath and to stay with the breath is the best place for them.
Can I ask one more question, please?
Yes.
Okay. So at one time, when I meditate, and when I was meditating with the inhale and exhale through my nose,
Mhm.
I felt no air, no breath,
Mhm.
and my body's got all goosebumps, and I felt like the most happiness experience I ever encounter, more than any sensual pleasure. But I don't think that I should call that jhana. What do you think that was?
Well, it could be either access, concentration, or jhana.
Wow.
Access is like before jhana.
Mhm.
And basically when that arises, this is the instruction that I had, and so I give the same instruction that I received, which is like where the breath was before, keep the awareness like in the same place that it was before, even though you're not getting sensation there.
Right.
If that really strong blissful feeling comes along,
Mhm.
if you leave the breath and start chasing after the blissful feeling, then you might not go to jhana. But if you sort of keep the practice like stabilized, and when that blissful feeling comes along, like keep the awareness on the breath as long as you can.
The problem,
But then,
go ahead. The problem was at that particular moment, I guess the most happiness that I ever encountered, I feel blissful.
right.
But then when I got up, went to the bathroom, I come back to sit in the same place and longing for the same thing again. It never happened.
Right. That's what they call beginner's luck. So if you can do the same practice again and again and always get to the same blissful experience,
Uh-huh.
that would be worth doing. If you remember how you got there, and do that same practice, but try to keep the mind stabilized. Yeah.
I tried many times. I never got back to the very same experience I ever did have once. Sadhu.
Okay. I'll call on John.
Hello, Venerable. Yeah, thanks for calling on me. So I have a question. I was talking to Dilshan, and I thought I would just ask a follow-up question. So do we have any of the Dharma Deshanas of Venerable Sanghamita? Do we have any written records by her?
You know, as far as I know, there is like the history. There's a lot like surrounding the story of Sanghamita. And it's said, you know, she gave the ordination to 500 ladies, royal ladies in Sri Lanka when she came there. And she spent the rest of her life, like many, many decades, in Sri Lanka, nurturing and teaching and caring for that Sangha. But as I may look this up before our program on New Year's Eve, I'm not aware of which suttas Sanghamita was teaching. That's a good question. I'm going to come back next time I see you if I get an answer to that question.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Come back to Damon.
Yes. So getting back to devotional practices, although you mentioned the what sound to me like nice rituals of bowing and so forth, your talk seemed to me instead to stress that inner devotion is more important than outer devotion. So, for example, in myself, when I think about how grateful I am for the teachings, and not only that, how I try to show that gratitude by, for example, just observing the precepts to me feels like a deep inner devotional practice. Maybe it's outer, certainly in certain ways. But anyway, if you could, is there a distinction between inner and outer devotion?
Well, yes, of course, there's a distinction. The manifestation of devotion through the gestures of the body, through the what we do with our speech in terms of recitations or chanting or even verbal contemplation is it helps to reinforce what's happening with the psychology. You know, the body and mind are connected. So I feel that if someone who has maybe a very like a secular sort of a cultural background, and they just, they don't want to do anything special, or they reject, even if they reject the outward manifestation of devotion because it seems like superstitious to them, they may be losing an opportunity that what is done with the body is, it's like you're sending a message into your brain when you adopt those postures with the body. Even like in coming to meditation, sometimes one would like bow to the cushion. One would be like make the body clean, and have the space, the place where you meditate is going to be kind of like tidy and, sort of like nice. And that cleanliness, that niceness, that approaching with a bit of like an attitude of respect is helping to set up the mind to be able to enter into meditation. So that's, I think, a good way to think about it. And even when doing a good deed, if you there's a the example is if you have a breakdown along the road and somebody stops to help you, and they stop and they say, "Well, you're really stupid, and why did you should take care of your tires. You wouldn't have this flat tire if you were a careful driver. If you took proper maintenance of your car, you wouldn't have these problems. And you're, how can you be so feeble that you're not able to fix your own tire? And I'll fix it for you." And sometimes they're sort of like with this kind of like coarseness at the same time that they're helping you. And so they're still doing something good. They're still doing the good deed. But at the same time, it's like they're not getting the whole benefit that could be gotten if they would have just taken a minute to be gentle and say, there, how can I, please let me help you, or something like that. So that's what I'm saying, is to just bring more refinement, and it helps to program the brain, program the mind.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call on Dilshan.
May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you. Thank you, Ayya. I have a question in regards to like jhanas, since it is something that we have been talking about today a bit.
Yes.
So I've heard that those who have mastered this, those who are able to enter into the jhanas, they are able to sort of how can I say, the five fetters that Buddha mentioned, which are like kamachanda, meaning attachment to the inputs from the five sense doors, and vyapada, tina middha, uddhacca, kukucca, vicikicca. So these five, become dormant in them, like temporarily. So then I'm wondering if at all someone passes away when they have entered in jhanas, what sort of rebirth will they have? Because these five, fetters are not active, which also means that there's a possibility that they can go to one of the Brahma worlds, because Brahmas don't also have the same status, right? The five fetters are dormant. So then I'm wondering, let's say a layperson or a monk or a bhikkhuni, passes away while they have entered into the jhanas. I'm just curious, what kind of rebirth they will have, Thank you so much.
If they practice the jhana without developing that transformative insight into the Four Noble Truths, then they could be expected to be reborn in a heavenly realm based on the four jhanas.
Okay.
And then if they practice the immaterial meditations, they could expect to be reborn in one of the immaterial realms.
Okay.
But even from the first jhana, if you recognize that no matter how blissful or how sublime that state of meditation is, if one can recognize that it's conditioned, that it's impermanent, that it's not worth clinging to, and standing on that, it's possible to gain that transformative insight and to turn towards Nibbana and to obtain stream entry, being a once-returner, being a non-returner, even just from just from the first jhana.
Okay.
Now, it's controversial whether or not the noble attainments are available for persons who don't have any jhana whatsoever. But the most reliable way, it's what you mentioned most often in the suttas, is if you would get yourself established in right view, develop your virtue, cultivate your virtue to a very refined level, develop the Brahma Viharas, and make the effort to purify the mind of the hindrances. So it's like the first jhana is described as being freed from the kama chanda, freed from sensual craving, freed from the unwholesome states of mind.
Yeah.
But it seems like in the suttas that letting go of the hindrances is part of the step of right effort, actually, samavayama.
Okay.
And so it's like when you have, it's like letting go of the five hindrances, or you could say, or else you could say letting go of the unwholesome states of mind and the sensual craving. That's like the gateway to the jhana. When that happens, then you're in the jhana.
Okay.
That's my understanding of the way that it's written in the suttas.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, that has to associate with Samma Samadhi anyway, right? If to make sure that you are on track to Nibbana and not like other way around.
Yes.
Is that correct?
It's the whole, earlier on, Richard was speaking about the right view, about seeing everything that arises must cease. And in order for right view to really arise, and for the right view to be stabilized, to be like fully realized, is coming from the Eightfold Path.
Mm.
So a person who's, has bad morals and is very confused about causation and doesn't really care about trying to understand about causation and not making the effort with that. Someone who thinks that a little bit of hatred is okay, and they just are like just getting along in life and enjoying pleasures and following along their emotions or something like that. They're not going to be able to come to the transformative insight. The transformation of our life through the Eightfold Path, through the gradual training, goes concurrently with the possibility for insight. It's like what you're able to see depends on where you sit or where you stand. If you're at the summit of the mountain, you can see a tremendous view. If you're down in the valley, you get a different view. And so those two things have to go hand in hand.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I see John's hand. Is that another question, or because you didn't put your hand down?
I do have a question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I've been thinking about the meaning of piti and sukha in the first jhana, on the topic of jhanas we've been discussing.
Yes.
And I'm aware that part of the definition of the first absorption is that it, as you said, it is removed from sensual desire. It's free from the typical craving for objects of sensuality. So my understanding is that this piti and sukha is actually something pleasurable that is the result of unbinding or getting rid of the weight of our typical experience of the hindrance. Is that a correct understanding?
Yes. To me, the freedom, it's like if I have got, if I had some kind of like a chronic bodily pain, and my whole life long, every day I have this headache, every day I have this, whatever this bodily pain is. And then some doctor comes along who knows the right medicine, and without getting side effects or without being drugged, the pain is gone. Then it's like, wow, that's, the piti is the freedom. And the reason why the piti is as temporary and fades away as the jhanas progress is in a way that the contrast between the stressfulness of ordinary existence, which is filled with grasping and other unwholesome states, versus the freedom of being secluded from those unwholesome states. That's where the happiness comes from. So it's a happiness that's coming from the absence of something, and it's for that reason that it's not considered as sensual desire, as sensual craving. I don't want to overemphasize that because there is a way in which even in the realm of sensuality, people use sensual pleasures to cover up sensual pain. If somebody feels depressed or painful or something, then they may, if they don't know how to, a more skillful way to get out of it, they may think of getting out of their sadness or their depression or whatever by taking some kind of sensual pleasure as a way, as like to cover it up. So it's not that the bliss of the jhana is covering up the pain. That's not it. That's not what's happening at all. It's a true freedom. That it's just how it seems to me, where the piti is coming from, and it's definitely not a sensual pleasure. I think this may be enough for now. The time has gone on, and I really appreciate everybody's patient listening. Happy Poya Day, and if you have a chance to go outside, you can enjoy the moon, and if you have a chance to listen to the program tonight from the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, then I welcome you to enjoy that. So we can give the closing blessing. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suvakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Subhatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namah